Sure. Go ahead.
Just thinking about, so as you mentioned, educator, like suppose you're not a bird person. Suppose black-polled warbler, never met her, don't know what she sounds like, don't know what she looks like, don't know the amazing story about blackpolls being able to go out over the Atlantic in the fall, make a right turn, spend days aloft over the Atlantic, arriving back to South America, flying nonstop over the ocean. And these are tiny little birds. So you don't know anything about that story. But why should you care about birds? And I was thinking about question and answer?
Sure.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Because we originally said dialogue with a bird,
Right.
and it's our dialogue.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if in order to maybe introduce you to birds, questions that you're curious about, being that you have a birder with you, and Jen is a bird, you have her with her all the time. But what questions do you have about birds? That would maybe a good way to help move you to care. Because this is good, right? But if you don't care about golden eagles, you never saw a golden eagle.
Can we get the microphone up? Yeah, up here. Thanks, Jane.
Hi.
Hello?
I was just wondering what you would kind of like give advice to us about what we should do in our own lives at home to protect birds, whether it's like the paper, like less paper towel waste, or like turning off faucets. Like, what would you recommend to us?
Wonderful question. Thank you. Very thoughtful and caring. I would, it's like, what's the intersection? Where are you at with? So I would say, if you're not in relationship with birds, if you haven't met the robins that are on your lawn yet, you don't know anything about them, I would say again, you think curiously, right? And we live in a world where the Library of Congress is in your back pocket, right? There's resources. If you want to learn something about robins, about the fact that they grow more intestine in the fall to process fruit, if you like physiology and you want to learn more about bird physiology, fascinating. But if you can move it to a point where you care about the robins in your backyard, the goldfinches that come to your backyard, when you begin to do that, then you start saying, what can I offer the world? What can I do to help? And so it is the little things, like I'm very serious about food waste in this country. It is a problem, right? And you all know that. And so even though you may not think that that's tied, I think just little actions. And how do you start little actions, right? How do you become a better person? For me personally, it is, it's the intent. I want to be better than I am. Hey, Doug, just be yourself. No, be better than yourself. Because there is, it's something you're always working on, right? Always trying to be better. So if you want to be more caring about birds, I would say, get into the habit of paying attention to them. When you walk outside on a sunny day, today's going to be hard, we're not going to be moving much because we have precipitation in the air. On the next sunny day, have a look around the skies of State College. Be the person who sees the robin in the shrub tut-tutting or singing. Be the person who watches the red-tailed hawk on campus take out that gray squirrel and eat it in the elm right there at Old Main. It happens much more often than you would believe. So be the person that takes note, and once you take note, then I think you intercept on, it's that coming together of what do I bring to the conversation. Keeping cats indoors, I think we'll have a slide later. Little things, keeping cats inside, making windows safe for birds. So there's little things that you can do. Conserve food, walk more, all those little steps impact the world around you in good ways. If you love politics, poli-sci is your thing, you certainly need conservation in politics, in decision-making. State College could be a better bird town. And there are bird clubs and Audubon clubs that really care about birds.
We have one in the balcony to your left.
Okay, just a moment.
I guess being once the president of the Birding Society, I was kind of just curious, maybe like the rarest bird that you've ever like seen in person, or maybe like your wildest bird encounter, something really fascinating that you've experienced.
Yeah, I want to be humble, but I'm still the president of the Seagulls.
Oh,
yeah, I know that. I'm still that major.
Reigning president.
Yes, reigning president. April elections are coming up, though. So, birds take you places, and so if you, and Jen will tell you the same thing. You're going spring break. Are you traveling?
I am not, but in the summer, I'm going to Maine and I can't wait.
Yeah. So wherever you go, there are birds. Bird by bird, you come to learn, you come to see the world or hear the world. I've been on an island in the Gulf of Maine that is an island for puffins, seabirds, and terns. I've had terns peck at my head defending their nest. And I will tell you, there's something amazing about, these are common terns, roseate terns. They can find that place on your skull and they can hit you in the exact same place all the time. Like, they are really good at that. And that's probably a defensive thing that they evolved to have. So being places, wherever you are, there are birds. I would say just yesterday I saw a bald eagle fly over Shavers Creek. I stopped and just said, would you look at that, a bald eagle, you know? So it's all the time. Wherever you go, there's birds. You go to the Jersey Shore, you watch sanderlings running along the beach. They run in as the waves recede, they run out as the waves, and there's birds everywhere. You just have to allow them to be part of your world, enter into relationship with them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one over here, Jen.
Okay, is that the balcony one? Yeah, great.
So you said that you drew yourself as a bird when you were younger. So I'm just curious, like, what kind of bird do you think you would be?
Yeah, and so I think when you are in relationship with nature, you know, you think of yourself as like a couple, you're tied to that. So if I pictured myself in the world, I'd have some part of the natural world in that photo that I drew. A tree with birds. When you ask people, like, for me, when someone says, hey Doug, what's your favorite kind of ice cream? For me, it's sort of like, well, there are two kinds of ice cream in my world. There's ice cream, and then there's no ice cream. I'm a middle child, I'm very flexible. What kind of coffee is my favorite? Whatever you're offering me. So for me, birds is whatever I just saw today. I saw the bluebird in my backyard this morning. It was great. They're around the nest box that's there. I need to clean that out for them. So for me, it's usually whatever bird is present attracts my attention, and that becomes what I think of as my favorite in the moment.
With such a passion with birds, do you have like a bucket list of like what you want to see? It's like there are a bird that you haven't seen, you're like, oh my god, I need to see this bird.
There are 10,000 birds in the world, different kinds of species. And wherever you are, you bird. I do have a nemesis Pennsylvania bird, a bird that has escaped me all these years. It's called a Connecticut warbler. They come through the state in small numbers. They don't breed here. They're here in May and September. One of these days, gosh dang it, a Connecticut warbler is going to show up probably in my backyard, and I'm going to say, where have you been all this time? Nice to meet you. But a Connecticut warbler, again, if you're not in a relationship to birds, you've never looked at a field guide or gone to a great website called All About Birds, where you can look up Connecticut warbler, what it sounds like. If you haven't done that, it's hard for you to go, Connecticut warbler, great. You just sort of pass along. But I will say that birds they allow us to enter into relationship. I mean, how cool are birds, right? This country has a love affair with birds. How many chickens do we consume every year? It runs into the billions of chickens Americans eat every year. Talk about our affiliation, our love of eggs, right? So if you are what you eat, we are certainly bird people. But birds sing. How cool is that? I mean, they sing. This spring, already, we hear sounds and elaborate songs, song of a wood thrush, and so on. They fly. Talk about inspiration, right? If you have a down jacket, you're wearing bird feathers around. The best insulating. So, I mean, yeah, I love birds. Did you get that feeling? Yeah.
It's coming pretty clear. Yeah.
I'm also an Eagles fan. Let's not talk about the Eagles. I still need a couple weeks. Yeah.
We have another one on the balcony.
Okay, just a minute.
So I just wanted to ask, like, with the decline of birds being 3 billion, like, do you, like, feel like or think that how much of that is attributed to, like, the circle of life, like them being eaten by other animals, or, like, do you think any part of that is attributed to that, or do you think a lot of it's man, like, cause?
I think there are birds that eat other birds, and that happens. But the number of bird-eating birds has also declined. And you don't have to, I mean, it's not a hard concept, right? I mean, even the concept of climate warming, you know, if you could do a little experiment to show how you trap heat around the planet, it tends to warm, and you continue to release gases that trap, I mean, it's easy to understand. So for birds, the same thing. If birds live in a forest, and the forest is cut for a housing development, the birds that did live in that forest, if there's not another forest for them to move to, it puts stress on that population. And birds are not overly long-lived, you know. For a songbird like a robin, if it lives 8 years, that's a pretty old robin. So they have that time where they need to replace their population. If they're going to grow, they need to put out more young, and it's a rough world. And Jen mentioned about edge effect and nest predators. And then, oh, by the way, let's throw in pesticides. Go to a Lowe's sometime, or whatever big box store that sells garden supplies. Have a look at the wall of death that is there. Really, it hasn't always been that way. We are peddled, you know, there's an insect in here. I mean, I live in an old house. I am never truly alone in that old house. Never truly alone. And I welcome other life in my house as well. So we poison them, we take their habitat. Wind turbines, we don't really know. Friend of Fish and Wildlife Service, friend of mine, just sent up a report that they think that the mortality from wind farms to bald eagles in the West is higher than they realize. So we're making it really hard for birds. We are.
Up there in the balcony.
Hi, I'm over here. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's nice to meet you.
I first wanted to say I really admire your love for birds. I think it's beautiful. But I wanted to know how you feel about seagulls.
How I feel about seagulls. Got it. Well, you know, you are talking to a bird advocate, right? I'm also I am. Have I mentioned this? I'm the president of So first tip is when you're talking to birders. This is write this down. This is inside now. Yeah. Birders in our world, it's not Canadian geese. It's Canada geese. There's no such thing as seagull. They are all different species of gulls. So in your world, they might be seagulls, but there's ring-billed gulls, Bonaparte's gulls, herring gulls, great blackback gulls, lesser blackback gulls, and the list goes on. There's a lot of gulls. Kittiwakes are gulls. So how do I feel about gulls? I love them. I love them. And to see them in Pennsylvania is a treat. We only have ring-billed gulls. I live in Huntington County. They hang out in the parking lot because there's a big lake there in Raystown. They don't nest there, but in the wintertime and spring and fall, you find them in the area. Now, if they, what we've done with gulls is, where do we put our trash, right? And so in certain cities and areas where there's a dump that's exposed and it's not covered, gulls have responded to that. And their numbers in some communities have gone up because we provided a whole bunch of extra food in them, into that system. So gulls are interesting. They're an interesting species to study because their numbers increase are, again, directly probably tied to human actions. So we've given them lots more food and we're getting what we have sowed. So in your world, they might annoy you. They might come and try to steal your food, right? But at the same time, would you not admire another earthling that's so bold to do that? And think about your relationship to gulls and see if you can put a name to the gull. If it's along the Jersey Shore, probably ring-billed gulls and herring gulls, but ring-bill I think is the most common one. Fascinating animals, long-lived, how they glide over the waves, the envy of many a person. Good luck entering into a relationship with gulls. I love gulls.
Was it hard to learn, like, to do bird calls? And if so, what was the hardest bird call to learn?
Yeah. Good news. Birders, and that's what we call ourselves. Here's some bird lingo. If you ever see me with a pair of binoculars and I'm watching a bird, and you see me doing that, that's called birdering. Good news, birders do not need to know bird calls, nor do we have to do bird calls. I can try to get birds to come closer. There's a technique called pitching, believe it or not. It sounds like this. Let's say alarm call of a tufted titmouse. But I don't have to do that. I can just enjoy birds from wherever I'm at. I don't need binoculars. If you're interested in bird songs and calls, though, Cornell Lab of Ornithology, all about birds, a free app called Merlin that you can download, and you can play bird songs and learn about birds in your backyard. It's an amazing piece of technology. AI, yeah. Yeah. Hey, that's kind of cool. 7 simple things you can do. Hey, guess what? Cats really do kill birds. Newsflash, yeah.
Over 2 billion annually in the United States.
Yeah, could you say that again? How many?
Over 2 billion birds are killed every year by cats.
Yeah. If you're interested in that topic, do a little research on that. You can see videos of researchers putting cameras on cats. And yes, little Sparky does really go and kill other things in the neighborhood, even though you've never seen him do it. He does. And again, this is all great. And as a concerned citizen of the planet Earth, right, you should try to live lighter on the planet. It's just common sense. It's good sharing, right? I mean, we inhabit this world with lots of fellow Earthlings, many that are human and many, many more that are not human. And I'm a believer in, what's our fair share of this planet, right? He once said to me, I take care of the earth because the earth takes care of us. Have you told him that?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, so birds do a lot for us. A lot of things that we don't even know they do. They're fascinating animals. They're making choices all the time. If you're interested in ecology, birds are very accessible to us. If you're just curious in general, find out about the bird nesting in your backyard, the robin, the house sparrow, the whatever it is, the gull that's in your neighborhood. Birds are so accessible to us. And they sing to us, and they make sounds. They animate our world. If you're looking for something to get you excited about why you should recycle, well, if you're not sure why you should recycle, think of it as, I'm doing my fair share. I'm contributing to trying to live lighter, and because I care. And recycling is very low on the old what you can do, but it has to start with caring. It has to start with a relationship for birds. So here's my, this is a barred owl call for you, and this is how serious it can get. because you can really geek out on birds too. Barred owls say, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? That's the mnemonic. They live in the valleys of Shavers Creek. I do hear them. They nest there, they raise families, they are part of the food chain. If I heard a barred owl in my backyard, I had the window open, I would wake up from a deep sleep and I'd say, that's a barred owl. And the call sounds like, should we just leave them with this? Do you have any announcements before we-
This will, I don't think I can top this. Or, yeah.
Well, like this, yeah. Okay, so barred owls, they sound like this. And we only have a handful of owls. There's a nesting great horned owl in Lederer Park, and they sound something different. So that's your homework. Compare barred owl to great horned owl. When you're at the library at 2 in the morning, listen for owls as you come back. Barred owl sounds like this. And thank you for being such a good audience. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate your caring. And I'll leave you with the barred owl. Remember, it's who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. So I'm saying that in my brain as I put these who's together. Ooh, ooh.